I know a lot of you all might be looking at my face saying, dang, LRC's face looks chunkier, looks rounder. At least my brother said that for my last video. He said, bro, since you've been cohabitating, man, look like you just let yourself get chunky again. As most of my listeners and followers know, yeah, this has been a new chapter in Alan Roger Currie's personal and social life. Yeah, I've been cohabitating with my girl since a week ago Saturday. Yeah, a week ago Saturday. So I say roughly a week and a half. And what would I give it on a 1 to 5 star scale so far? 5 stars. I don't have no issues with it. It's been great. You could say the number one positive so far of cohabitating has also been the number one negative, which is I've been doing a lot of fucking per day. At the risk of telling my business, I've been doing a lot of fucking. And yeah. So but yeah, our relationship so far has been good. Well, we've been in a relationship for a few months now, but we've only been cohabitating for about a week and a half. Anyway. Now, you know, my followers don't allow me to miss out on anything. I usually get emails or Patreon messages or Facebook inbox messages when somebody is discussing something that either directly relates to me or at minimum indirectly relates to me. And in this situation, this video that partially, not totally, but partially inspired this video indirectly related to me. Now, the person who's doing this video didn't mention me by name. Actually, I get the impression that it was a response and rebuttal to my Ron Wills. See, it's funny, man. Ron Wills, I was saying this a few videos ago. Ron Wills has always been low-key. Somebody who never, at least intentionally, seeks to get involved in beefs or drama, back and forth, you know, debate. That's just not Rom's style. That's not his thing. He likes to just drop knowledge, you know, like a 10 to 15 minute video per day and then, you know, go about his life. But yeah, in the last, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 weeks, a lot of guys been going after Rom, man. And again, I don't want to rehash what I already talked about in my previous video, but yeah, Rom's been like, it comes down to a lot of guys don't like Rom's delineation between select and non-select. That's what it really boils down to. A lot of guys don't like that delineation. It's similar with me. A lot of guys don't like the delineation between alpha and beta. Again, I don't want to rehash a video I already did because I already covered a lot of this material. But let's start with the reality, man. I remember when I was in college at Indiana University in 1985, specifically, it was spring of 1985. I had a subscription, I want to say, to Esquire magazine. If I'm not mistaken, it was in Esquire. It could have been in GQ magazine, but I'm like 98, 99% sure it was Esquire magazine. I remember reading this article by some psychologist whose name I don't recall. And this was the first time I came across what's popularly known in the manosphere as the 80-20 rule theory. The 80-20 rule theory. And pay attention to the last word, theory. That means it's never been scientifically proven to be factual. Never I got to point that out. It's never been scientifically proven to be factual. It has always been more of a theory or a strong assertion. A theory or a strong assertion, but not a scientifically proven fact. But yeah, this guy had an article on, this was back in 1985. You're talking about what, 34 years ago. Guy had an article in Esquire magazine about the 80-20 rule theory. And without getting too lengthy, what he basically asserted is that he said only approximately 20% of men in society will be able to have sex with women, and more specifically, non-relationship sex. Sex in general, but more specifically, non-relationship sex or casual sex. Because of a combination of their looks and seductive charm. Because of a combination of their looks and seductive charm. Now, he said it's only about 20% of men in society that will be able to engage in short-term and or non-monogamous sex with women because of a combination of their looks and their persuasive and seductive charm. He said that the remaining 80% of men, if they want to have sex with women, and again, particularly non-relationship sex, they're going to have to offer something. He said they're going to have to offer a woman something. Wedding ring, long-term commitment, although that would defeat the purpose if your objective is short-term non-monogamous sex. If you have to offer long-term commitment, then obviously you're not going to be engaging in short-term non-monogamous sex. Money, which relates to, of course, prostitution, tricking. You know, a lot of historians refer to prostitution and tricking as the oldest profession in the book. That's not been scientifically proven, but that's just the nickname for prostitution. The oldest profession in the world. The oldest profession in the world. So you're going to have to offer money, materialistic gifts, a high amount of your non-sexual companionship, employment offers, job promotions, etc. You're going to have to offer some of tangible and or intangible value. You have to offer something above and beyond just looks and seductive charm. And even more specific, he basically said there's going to be a percentage of men, which now are referred to as incels, who are not going to be able to get any pussy at all, even if they offer something. Even if they offer something. I don't know what percentage that is. Let's say that's, I don't know, 10 to 15% of men in society. Let's say that's 10 to 15. So really you can say it's three categories of men. Men that can get pussy just based on the combination of their looks, seductive charm, and sex appeal. In other words, they ain't got to offer women long-term commitment. They ain't got to offer women no money or financial provision. They don't have to offer no woman no materialistic gifts, no employment offers, no job promotion, nothing. All they got to offer women is just their looks, their charm, and their dick. That's what, within the context of the 80-20 rule theory, that's what's known as the top 20%. Is when the only thing you got to offer a woman to get in bed is your looks, your seductive charm, and your dick. Or the promise of an enjoyable, satisfying time for her in bed. Then the second group of men would be men who have to offer something in addition, either in addition to their looks and charm or instead of their looks and charm. They have to offer something in addition to their looks and charm or in place of their looks and charm. Most notable would be money. Next to money or some material item would be long-term commitment. The promise to help that woman raise children. the promise to spend a significant amount of time with that woman non-sexually at all. And then the third group of men would be men that even if they offer something, there's a 99% chance they still ain't gonna get no pussy. Those are what we generally now call incels. Incels. So I think the reason why a lot of men get upset over being placed in the non-select category, or and more so in my case, the beta male category, is because no man likes to be considered romantically or sexually undesirable. No man likes to be considered romantically and or sexually undesirable. And you can say, in fairness to women, no woman does either. I mean, realistically, what woman wants to be considered physically unattractive or sexually undesirable? What woman wants to be considered physically unattractive or sexually undesirable? None. But what's the reality, though? What's the reality? The reality is there's always going to be a percentage of women that us men consider to be physically unattractive and or sexually undesirable. It's not an opinion, that's a fact. So given that fact among men, in the eyes of men, why wouldn't men expect that women have the same attitude? It's a proven fact. Statistics and studies have shown that the vast majority of women find no less than 50 to 60% of the men in society sexually undesirable. That's not opinion as much as it is a fact. And that's one of the things that contributes to the validity of the 80-20 rule theory, is because most women, when surveyed, when asked, particularly women, attractive women, women who are, say, on a scale of 1 to 10, 6 and above, women who are 6 and above, have routinely said that there are far more men in society that they find to be sexually undesirable than sexually desirable, that they wouldn't want to date than men who they would want to date. And it's those simple type of responses to surveys and studies that causes a brother like Ron Wells or myself to make the delineation between select, non-select, or alpha and beta. Like, as you know, I got 4 groups of men in my books. Total alpha, an alpha with a few beta traits, a beta with a few alpha traits, and a total beta. And now, again, for the upteenth time, anybody who tries to argue with those delineations, to me, at minimum, they're being unrealistic. At maximum, they're being delusional. It's really that simple. And see, one of the reasons why a lot of men favor monogamous relationships, those who do, is because, and I point this out, of course, in my book, The Beta Male Revolution, say when you have a society that heavily encourages monogamous relationships, it kind of diminishes the effect of the 80-20 rule theory. In other words, if you got 50 men on an island with 50 women, and the rule of the island is that they have to engage in a strictly monogamous relationship, then you pretty much eliminate the effects of the 80-20 rule theory. There's really no such thing as select versus non-select because everybody has to be in a monogamous relationship. But when you open up that island up, which is the analogy in my book, The Beta Male Revolution, when you open up the rules and guidelines of relationships on that island to the point where women can fuck whoever they want to fuck and men can fuck whoever they want to fuck, then the reality is most of the men are going to go gravitate towards the women who are the most physically attractive and sexually desirable. And the same thing with women. Women are going to do the same thing. They're going to gravitate towards the men who they find the most physically attractive, seductively charming, and just sexually appealing in general. There's no rocket science about that. There's no rocket science about that. So that's why you have. So what I'm making a point with this is don't get on guys like Rom's case or my case or anybody else's cases who offers delineations of men, because delineations are real. Again, I feel like I'm rehashing my own video, but yeah, I mean, there's always going to be a percentage of men and a percentage of women that are going to be considered more physically attractive than the rest, more charming and charismatic than the rest, more seductive than the rest, more sexually appealing, more romantically and or sexually appealing than the rest. I mean, come on, man. Look at sports. There's always going to be athletes who are at an all-star caliber and athletes that are just considered average or less than average compared to their peers. I don't know what's hard to understand about that. But the second thing I want to talk about is I read in the comment section of this person's video where somebody said, I'm going to be paraphrasing words, but essentially someone said that, so you got all these guys, man, that crack me up. They want to always criticize. There's a lot of guys in the manosphere that want to criticize women and want to treat them like they're the scum of the earth. And in some cases, along with that, men who seem like they even remotely defend some of women's behavior. They want to criticize that. And somebody wrote in the comment section of this video that was sent to me that, again, I don't have it in front of me, so I'm paraphrasing. Something to the effect of, yeah, man, fuck these women, man. Women created manipulative head games, and we as men are forced to tolerate their bullshit games. Really now? Really now? So women by themselves exclusively created what I refer to in my books as manipulative head games. Manipulative head games. Really now? Insert dog face here. Are you serious? Are you really fucking serious? Anybody who says some shit like that is just stupid. I can't even think of an alternative word, a nicer word to say other than just stupid. If you believe that women by themselves created manipulative head games, you're stupid. You're unintelligent. You're uneducated. All that. Across the board. I would borderline say you're an idiot. Straight up. Give me your phone number, I'll tell you directly. You're stupid. You're an idiot. Women by themselves did not create manipulative head games. And similarly, I would say men by themselves did not. Because here's the reality of head games. And I pointed this out in my book. Here's the reality of manipulative head games. It takes two to tangle. It takes two to tangle. You got that? In other words, let's call game players, well, other than game players, an alternative name would be bullshitters. Let's call people who like to play games game players and or bullshitters. And then let's call people who don't like to play games as straight shooters or non-game players. Straight shooters or non-game players. So you got game players / bullshitters and straight shooters / non-game players. I would put myself in that second category. I'm a self-assured straight shooter, i.e. Mo 1. That's the nickname for a Mo 1 person. Self-assured straight shooter. I'm a straight shooter, man. I'm a non-game player. I don't believe in games. Why do men play games? Why do women play games? It's real simple. It's real simple, actually. The number one reason why members of both genders seek to play games is mainly, that it narrowed down to one thing, would be fear of rejection, fear of not getting what they want from another person. See, when you want something from someone and you're fairly confident that you're going to be able to get it by being honest and straightforward, then you're not going to play games. The two times you're not going to play games is one of these two times. Is when there's something you want from someone, either of tangible or intangible value, and you're fairly confident that the person who you want it from is going to give it to you. Number two is when you want something from someone and you realize that there's at least a 50% chance or greater that you might not be given what you want, but you're willing to accept that if it comes down to that. So when you want something and you're confident you can get it by being honest, upfront, specific, and straightforwardly honest, you're not going to play games. Or when you want something from someone and you realize that there's a greater than 50% chance you might not get it, but you're cool with accepting the fact that you're not going to be able to get what you want if it comes down to that. So let's put it in real life dating terms. Let's say I meet a woman. And let's say my objective with this particular woman is 8 to 10 weeks of short-term non-monogamous sex. 8 to 10 weeks of short-term non-monogamous sex. If I'm confident that by just letting that woman know that I want to engage in 8 to 10 weeks of short-term non-monogamous sex, that she's going to reciprocate my sexual desires, interests, and intentions, that she's going to say, yeah, I'm cool with that, then there's no motivation for me to play games. There's no motivation for me to play games. Secondly, if I feel that there is at least a 50% chance or greater that she's going to say, no, I'm not down for that, then I'm willing to be cool with that decision. I'm not going to be motivated to play games. When's the guy going to want to play games, though? It should be obvious. Now, one time, guys are going to turn to deception, manipulation, or both. Deception, manipulation, or there's one other option. Deception, manipulation, or financial negotiation. Deception, manipulation, or financial negotiation. Or, no, it's a fourth option. As you know about my 5 methods to get a woman in bed. If a man doesn't feel like he can get what he wants by being upfront, specific, and straightforwardly honest, then he's going to turn to one of these alternatives. Deception, i.e. lying, misleading and manipulative behavior, financial negotiation, and the most despicable, coercion, such as rape or date rape. That's what he's going to turn to. He's going to turn to one of those 4 options. Deception, misleading and manipulative behavior, financial negotiation, or coercion. Now, financial negotiation, that's not really representative of running game on a woman, because you're still upfront about the fact that you want to have short-term non-monogamous sex with a woman. You're just offering an incentive or reward to sweeten the deal. You're offering an incentive or reward to sweeten the deal. So I don't consider financial negotiations such as tricking or being a woman's sugar daddy as running game on women, because you're still being upfront and straightforward about what you want. It's just that you're offering an additional incentive and reward to sweeten the deal. Coercion isn't really representative of running. Well, it can be. Now, let me take that back. It can be. For example, if you sneak and slip a date rape drug in a woman's drink or food, and then later on take advantage of her, that is a form of running game. Not only is it a form of coercion, but it's a form of running game because it's deceptive. That's deceptive. That's deceptive. In real simple terms, man, most men who run game on women run game because they want sex from them, but they're scared they're not going to be able to get it. Period. End of story. When you want sex from a woman, but you're highly fearful that you won't be able to get sex from a woman by being upfront, specific, and straightforwardly honest about your desire for sex, you're going to turn to one of those alternatives: deception, misleading and manipulative behavior, financial negotiation, or coercion. On the flip side, women. Why do women play games? And when do women not choose to play games? Women primarily play games. Women rarely play games to get sex, because women can get that by just being straightforward, particularly if they're attractive and sexually appealing. Women can usually get sex just by letting it be known that they want sex. So they don't need it. There's really no motivation for a woman to play games with a guy to get sex. The only time a woman has to play games to get sex from a man is, say, she wants sex from a man who's already married or already engaged to be married or already has a long-term girlfriend, a man who she thinks is going to more or less rebuff her and reject her. Then she might turn to playing games just to get sex. But most of the time, women feel like they can just offer pussy and get sex. So I ain't gonna say women never play games to get sex, but it's far more infrequent. Women play games more so for man's access to man's non-sexual time, attention, and companionship, as well as to gain access to a man's financial resources and material possessions. And I point that out in my book, The Possibility of Sex. That's when women are going to mostly be motivated to play games, is to gain access to a man's non-sexual time, attention, and companionship, either short-term, long-term, or both, and to gain access to a man's financial resources and material possessions, either short-term, long-term, or both. Because most women feel like if they were to straightforwardly ask a man just for their non-sexual time, attention, and companionship alone, that most men are going to say no. If I can't fuck you in exchange for my non-sexual time, attention, and companionship, then I'm not giving you access to it. So in the same way most men are afraid of being rejected for sex, most women are afraid of being rejected, having their desire for a man's non-sexual time, attention, and companionship rejected. Same with money. When women want money from a guy, they're scared that if they just ask a guy for money without giving up some pussy, they're going to get rejected, which realistically they are. You know, ain't too many men just going to give a woman money just to be giving them money, unless you what's known as, of course, a chump or a simp. That's what a chump or a simp is. A simp is a guy who will spend money on a woman even if he ain't fucking her. Or even probably more appropriate is a chump. Like, I've known a lot of women to categorize men as being a chump. That's what a chump is. A chump is a guy who women know they can get money from by just straightforwardly telling that guy that he ain't gonna get no pussy. And then the guy's still gonna spend gobs of money on him. But here's the reality, though. And again, I point all this out in my books. See, speaking of my books, that's the main reason I wrote my books. And I think most people who have a copy of all my books, whether it's all my ebook versions, paperback, or audiobook versions, know that. I consider 3 of my 4 books as part of a trilogy. And when I say trilogy, I mean that basically I almost consider it one long book divided into 3 parts. Mode 1, Who Said Again, and The Possibility of Sex. I consider that my trilogy. That's my, just like you got the Star Wars trilogy, or the Batman trilogy, or the Lord of the Rings trilogy. That's my trilogy. It's Mode 1, Who Said Again, and The Possibility of Sex. And then what I call using movie terms, the prequel. That's a popular term, of course, the opposite of a sequel, the prequel. The prequel to my trilogy is the Beta Male Revolution. The Beta Male Revolution basically spells out why we're experiencing the type of dating scene we're experiencing. What factors in the past contributed to what we're experiencing today, in a nutshell. That's what the Beta Male Revolution breaks down. What factors from the past, most notably that period between 1960 and 1974, is contributing to the challenges and flaws and weaknesses and disappointments and frustrations in today's dating scene. So that's where I lay out why it was even necessary for me to write my trilogy, is the Beta Male Revolution. The Beta Male Revolution basically lays out why it was even necessary for me to write a Mode 1, a Who Said Again, or A Possibility of Sex. So that's why I call that book my prequel. Beta Male Revolution is the prequel. Mode 1, the main gist of Mode 1 is that, related to what I'm talking about game plan. And see, here's what most men don't realize, man, and I would say to a certain extent, probably most women don't realize, is that the more you try to run game on a member of the opposite sex, the more you open the door for that member of the opposite sex to run game on you. See, that's one thing that a lot of men don't realize and a lot of women don't realize. The more deceptive you are, the more misleading and manipulative you are, the more you open the door for a member of the opposite sex to be the exact same way with you. And put in more simple terms, the more you trying to bullshit a woman in order to gain access to her sexual companionship, the more you open the door for her to bullshit you to gain access to your non-sexual companionship. Plain and simple. I'll give you a simple example. Let's say you meet a woman, your objective is you want to fuck her, and more specifically, you just want to have casual sex with her. If you straight up tell that woman that all you want from her is casual sex, how can she really gain access to your non-sexual time, attention, and companionship? How? If you say, hey, the only reason I'm looking to hook up with you is because I want to fuck you, outside of the context of a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship. That's all I want to do is fuck you, which I've done. As most of y'all know, that's how I roll. I've told women straight up, hey, I'm just looking to fuck you. I ain't looking to wine and dine you. I ain't looking to spend a significant amount of time with you non-sexually. I ain't looking to promise you no long-term commitment. I'm just looking to fuck you. How can a woman take advantage of me non-sexually or financially if I tell her that? How? Explain to me like I'm a 5th grader. How? She can't. But see, if I go the route of trying to get a woman in bed by pretending that I want to be her platonic friend, she can take advantage of me. If I try to get her in bed by pretending that I want to be her long-term boyfriend, she can take advantage of me. If I offer to spend money, a significant amount of money on her before I get the pussy, she can take advantage of me easily. See? If I offer to take out on 2 dates, 3 dates, 4 dates, 5 dates, at the end of the 2nd date, 3rd date, 4th date, 5th date, she could just say, I'm not really interested in you sexually. But she got them free meals. Boom. She just took advantage of you. That's why I wrote The Possibility of Sex. That's why I wrote The Possibility of Sex. Any woman can take advantage of you by offering you the possibility of fucking her. The possibility of fucking her. When you try to bullshit women, you open the door, immediately open the door for a woman to try to bullshit you. So, again, going back to my trilogy, Mode 1, the main essence of Mode 1 was, before you even think about anything to do with women, which is why I hate guys who concentrate a lot of attention on what's wrong with women, Mode 1 is all about you examining you as a man. Why are you a dishonest man? Why are you a misleading and manipulative man? Why are you a verbal coward? Why are you an angry, bitter misogynist, or at least a borderline misogynist? Why are you? Most of my questions in Mode 1 are about men examining themselves. Don't even concern yourself with women. What's wrong with women? First thing you need to do is examine, what are you about? What are you about? And as it relates to this discussion, are you a manipulative, deceptive, manipulative type man? Or are you a non-game player, a straightforwardly honest non-game player? Which category are you in? And that's why a lot of men don't like Mode 1 and hate on Mode 1. Men don't like to examine themselves. I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to name names, but y'all probably know who I'm talking about. But there's a lot of PUAs and dating coaches. That's why they're real popular with guys. Because they don't force men to examine themselves. They tell men whatever they want to hear. Which is mainly women. Most men want to hear that today's dating scene is fucked up because of women. That men had no they were not a contributor to it. That men are the innocent victims. That women are the ones who fucked this whole thing up. That's what a lot of men want to hear. Keeping shit real. A lot of men want to hear a dating coach or a PUA say, it's not your fault, man, that today's dating scene is fucked up. 99% of the reason why today's dating scene is fucked up is because of women. And see, I refuse to say some bullshit like that because it's not true. It's not true. And I triple dare anybody to try to prove that women are solely and specifically responsible for how fucked up today's dating scene is. I mentioned earlier in this conversation about prostitution being called the world's oldest profession in the world. Who was the first motherfuckers to offer women money to get in their pants? Come on, man. You had men centuries ago that knew that they couldn't fuck women out of their league. So what did they say? Maybe if I offer this bitch some money, she'll decide to have sex with me even though she's out of my league. That's essentially how prostitution started. Now, the two things that contributed to prostitution starting literally centuries ago was mainly two motivating factors. Was either A, married men who wanted to have sex with someone other than their wife, and they were willing to pay a woman to have a confidential, discreet, extramarital affair. So they were not so much paying a woman for sex, but paying her to keep quiet. That was motivation number one for prostitution, is married men who wanted to have sex with someone other than their wife, and they were willing to pay a woman money to have a discreet, private, discreet, confidential, extramarital affair. And the second motivation for prostitution was men who were unmarried that wanted to have sex with a woman that was essentially out of their league. They wanted to have sex with a woman who was out of their league. And that was the only way they were, and that's still true to this day. Both of those are still true to this day. One of the reasons why a lot of men to this day hire the services of a street prostitute, professional call girl, upscale erotic escort is because they want to have a discreet extramarital affair. I once read a study about 5 years ago that said no less than 50% of the clients of prostitutes, call girls, and escorts are married men. And then the second, for single men, again. Number one reason why single men typically pay for sex is because they want to have sex with a woman that they're not able to have sex with for free. It's that simple. You're only going to offer a woman money when you know for a fact that you are not able to have sex with that woman simply because of your looks, your personality, your seductive charm, and your sex appeal. But bottom line is, it takes two to tango, man. In other words, a bullshitter can never run game on a straight shooter. I say that in my books. You can't run game on a straight shooter. A bullshitter cannot run game on a straight shooter. There's only two types of people you can run game on, whether you're a man or a woman. Two types of people you can run game on. One I've already said is one, you can always run game on somebody that's trying to run game on you. You can't. Like, there's always been this slogan that you can't bullshit a bullshitter. Yes, you can. And I dispel that myth in my book called Upfront and Straightforward. Let the manipulative game players know what you're really thinking. That's an invalid myth. I would argue that it's just the opposite. The easiest person to bullshit is another bullshitter. Because they too busy concentrating on the game they're running. See, most bullshitters are so busy. A good movie that points that out, and I've pointed this movie out before, even though it's a comedy, not a drama, but a movie that points that out is a movie called Dirty Rotten Scoundrels with Steve Martin and Michael Caine. More than any other movie, that's the one movie that highlights the message that the easiest person to bullshit is a bullshitter. The second easiest person to bullshit is a person that's just naive. Is a person that's very, very naive. If they're a man, they're very inexperienced with women, the ways of women. And if they're a woman, they're very inexperienced with the ways of men. They're very naive. That's the only two people you can really manipulate with fairly ease, is people who are manipulators themselves and or people who are very naive, which is why I'm always using the phrase, wake up, wake up. When I say to you guys, wake up, I'm basically saying, stop being naive. Stop being naive. Stop being unrealistic. Stop being naive. So, bottom line, anybody who says women created manipulative head games by themselves, you're an idiot. But by the same token, if you were to say men created manipulative head games exclusively by themselves, that would also be highly invalid. It takes two, man, to play games. It takes two people to play games. You can't be playing games if there's only one person trying to play games. Again, with the exception if you're dealing with somebody really naive. What's known as a mark. Target, a mark. But otherwise, like, there's no woman that can run game on me, man. Because I know everything they can do. I know everything a woman can do. So, I mean, it would take a hell of a woman to run game on me. Anyway, in my Patreon exclusive portion today, I'm going to just briefly discuss the importance of maintaining a regular journal, the importance of maintaining entries in your Mode 1 journal. That's in my Patreon exclusive portion.